Hello. So this video right here is a civil complaint prepared under the Rico statute, the section 1964. The Rico statute allows private individuals to file Rico suits against enterprises that have caused them financial detriment because of restriction of personal rights. So in this video I'm going to cover what exactly has been going on in my life from a legal standpoint, as well as some specific interactions with police officers. So the case, I have not filed charges yet. I'm preparing the documentation now. So the first thing I want to say is a little bit about my legal background. I have no formal legal background. I've not gone to school to study law, but frankly, again, I'm accusing all of higher education of fraud here in a second, so we'll get there, but for thousands of years, students of law, they simply studied law, read law, and wrote law, and that's how they learned it, and that's exactly what I've done. I'm not going to bring up all of my books, but I mean, I've read over 20 books directly discussing statute, law, world history, and I'm representing myself, so I can legally do so. But my point to the courts is I'm not a barred lawyer, but I've done everything in my power to learn law as a good citizen, and I hope that counts for something. But so what I'm going to do is just cover my complaint in clear, direct terms. So from May 2017 to currently, right now as you're watching this video, I've been denied my right to publish my discoveries guaranteed to me by the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Subsection 7. Reading directly from the Constitution, it says, well, this comes from what the Constitution is it sets up our government. So this is the powers of Congress. So this is actually under the section establishing what rights Congress has. To promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for a limited time to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. So that is the part of the Constitution that I've cited, but I've also appealed to the Supreme Court, and I did so under the Ninth Amendment. I did so because, again, this is a clause, and from my legal studies, if it's a clause, the top heading is more prevalent. So this, to me, says what Congress can do, and the Bill of Rights tells me what rights I have. Regardless, the Constitution, the base, and the Bill of Rights both give me very solid legal footings to say, how do I publish my paper? Here's my discovery right here. This is a PhD thesis in physics, mathematics, and linguistics. I've made an entire website describing my discovery, firstprinciplescientist.com. Anyone with an hour of time can see for themselves what I've discovered. But for the courts, I want to point out something specific. Here is my citation page. These are all known, published things in physics, math, in respected journals. This is not some me guessing. There was hundreds of videos publicly acknowledging the existence of my work. So there's my discovery, and now, so this I've circulated that PhD since May 2017. I wrote it between December 2016, and then it was done by May 2017. Now on July 10th of this year, 2019, I entered into a letter of understanding with a Florida-based law firm, what are you called? Cohen and Hemphill. They have a website, you can Google that yourself. And so I have a letter of understanding valuing my business and my IP at $3 million. So educators know I have a correct thesis 2 years ago. I have a constitutional right to publish that paper. I have been given no avenues. Let me say something about how you publish a scientific paper. You either publish a PhD or you send it to a journal. Now, in the case of academics, all of the journal editors are people from the higher education system. So it's all the same group, and that is the enterprise that I'll be proving. But the inability to publish this is now threatening my scientific expertise and my funding capabilities. as a business owner, right? Here's the property that is being ruined by the fraudulent activity of the enterprise. And I would also like to point out that on 5 separate occasions, I've been bullied by police officers trying to exercise my constitutional rights. I want you to take a moment to really understand of how messed up that is. If this was in 1964, and I was an African American or a minority of some sort, and I went to a voting booth, and police officers literally came up to me, and I had my legal rights to vote, and they really didn't want me to vote, so they bullied me. They say, well, maybe we're going to intimidate you, maybe we're going to beat you. I mean, that is literally the crux of the most nasty part of our civil rights evolution in human history. Well, I don't know all of human history, but for sure American history. So this is the same level of denial of constitutional rights. I mean, this is extremely severe. And like I said, I will be detailing all of this. This is clearly not my deposition, but I did want to cover one thing. I went to Ohio State University last Monday. What's today? Today's the 26th, so that would have been the 19th. I contacted the administration 14 days before saying, hey, I would like to come here and publish my research. And then I contacted them 5 days before and said, hey, I'm going to come here and publish my research. I received no response. And then when I showed up to OSU, I go into the president's office, and for 30 seconds I simply say, hey, is President Drake going to take my meeting? To which the front desk people, I really don't think they knew who I was. And then I left them my protest material and I left. And now I walk out onto the Oval, and 3 seconds later 2 cops come up to me and tell me I can't go to Mort's College of Law to publish my paper. There is no more egregious violation of constitutional rights than that. I don't have the state statute. By Ohio law, I have to go to school till 16 years of age. I don't feel any need to defend why people care about education. I don't have a right to education, but I have a right to publish my research. And so now I'm going to go over the enterprise. Who's involved in this? And yes, I'm accusing the entire academic community of fraud. And I can prove it, and you know it. So please watch the next part. And so now I'm going to cover, first of all, literally just what are the reasonable steps to publishing a scientific paper to show you I've done them all. I've done all of them plus a lot, plus a whole lot. And no one seems to care. And then I'm going to just list the main defendants of this suit. So the first thing to do, what's the reasonable steps to publish as a scientific paper? Well, it's to enroll as a student. I was enrolled as a student. I wrote a very thought out, well-written, legitimate educational complaint in 2014, which is linked on my website under academic appeal, that expressed that I was not learning and I could do my own mathematical derivations. Completely ignored. So when people say, do it the right way, I was literally doing it the right way and I'm not naming negligence in this case, but again, that was a hilarious case of negligence. But then, if you're not enrolled as a student, and let me give you some timeline of this. So I didn't leave, I never left school to start a business. I started a business because I was being, again, kicked out of my own profession. So I went to Colorado to start a business, the one that I now have a $3 million valuation on, because OSU would not listen at all. I had 112 credits out of 120 to graduate. I had a 3.8 in physics in my major degree. I wrote a letter to the administration, and big OSU couldn't give an F less about any of their students. It's just a paycheck to them. Ignore. Next. So that was fun. But that's why I wasn't enrolled as a student as I was doing this, because OSU didn't let me. But the next reasonable thing is, and my freshman year I went to MSU. So the next reasonable thing is you contact your professors. I solve fundamental problems, and anytime you're dealing with any math problem, the appropriate thing to do is to go to other mathematicians and say, hey Joe, what do you think about this? And that's what I did. I had a couple professors from MSU that I respected a little bit more than from OSU, so I contacted them. This will be all in my deposition. They responded for a couple times, and then they just go magically silent. And that's, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. I don't care. But so I've contacted my professors, and again, this isn't like 2017, this is a 2.5-year thing. For a Rico case, you need to prove 2 independent instances over 10 years. I can prove probably 700 in the past 1. But you contact your professor and you say, here are my ideas, what do you think? And I did that with literally thousands of people. I went through, again, I didn't bombard anybody. I started with the people who knew me and that I knew. And I got good feedback, and then they all went silent suddenly. So then you submit your paper to a journal. This in theory you can do without having a PhD. I want to publish a PhD because I just spent 17 years being forced to go to school to learn, and I learned something, and the appropriate thing is to publish a PhD. More so than a journal because it's my first paper. I have no professional respect. So when you submit to the journal, you get what's called a referee report, and they basically assess what you've presented to them. I don't get a referee report. They just deny it within 5 seconds and say, "Screw you, Brad, have a nice day." That's illegal. Not even, well, the journal editors will be named as well. If you deny an academic paper, you have to say why. So the next thing is to submit to science organizations. Actually, I'm going to put a dotted line here. Because everything under this dotted line is complete bullshit. These are the legal avenues that are actually respectable. Submit to science, well, actually I meant to be up here. Because at the science organizations, you either have a PhD person that went through the higher education system, or you're an administrator. So this isn't like science organization, MSRI, Planck Institute. There's still PhD people that are indoctrinated. So then the next step I tried was contacting journalists and science. These are all things I've done hundreds of times, not once or twice. And this will all be in my deposition. Contact journalists and science writers. Well, if the schools aren't going to publish your paper and the journals won't publish your paper, well, maybe you can raise some awareness by people who care and write about science, but maybe aren't technical experts. Nobody has responded. Hundreds of them. Now, the next step is contact lawyers about the legal violations. Okay, if the scientists don't care, well, maybe the lawyers will care about law. Wrong. I've literally contacted hundreds of lawyers. I literally just went on lawyers.com, found people who practice constitutional law, and sent them a letter that says, "Hey, here's my legal complaints. I'm not seeking counsel. Why can't I receive my constitutional rights?" No response. So the absolute last level is posting on social media and hoping that people that know you care. And if I've learned anything in my life, no one will support me. Nobody in my friend group will take the time to watch my videos or share them or care about them because who cares? So I've done everything that you could possibly do to try to, first of all, exercise the actual legal rights and then just raise awareness about what's going on. Nobody cares. So over here I have a list of criminals. These are literally all people. Don't contact me, contact them. You're probably saying, "Who's this Brad guy?" Fantastic, contact one of these people. The first and foremost is Eric Weinstein, the managing director of Thiel Capital. Within the past week, or 2 weeks, a month, something like that, Eric has launched a podcast. And the very first episode is called Universal Institutional Failure. So if you're thinking I'm crazy, go watch a guy who manages a $4 billion fund and is a respected mathematician talk about it. And I put a bubble around him because if you go on my website or on YouTube and type in Eric Weinstein and Einstein, he will be on a video describing my work directly 2 years ago, in October of 2017. Peter Thiel, entrepreneur and investor, obviously associated with Weinstein. Mark Cuban, Michael Drake, the OSU president. Down here are people that I'm calling to be fired immediately. Cassandra Schaefer of the OSU Police Department. Cassandra, I don't have the exact dates, but again, they'll be in my deposition, issued me a cease and desist for contacting OSU and alleged telecommunications harassment 7 months after OSU neglected all of my constitutional rights. So she has clearly no moral or legal restraint from issuing a cease and desist for someone trying to exercise their constitutional rights. That is a problem. That is someone bullying an African American or minority not to vote even though they have the right to. Same with Dave Fermier, or Fermier, I don't know. OSU PD number 316. B. Allen of OSU PD number 301. These two fine officers are the ones I had the privilege of being bullied by on Monday, the 19th, when I went to OSU. Ryan Staffer of the MSU Police Department. He also, when I was telling you contact your old professors, I had a professor, Matt Hedden at MSU. He responded to me 3 or 4 or 5 times over the course of several days. Then he magically goes silent. And then, wow, what's that? I get another cease and desist for trying to exercise my constitutional rights. Just because you guys are sad and I say a couple things that doesn't make you feel super happy, doesn't mean you commit crime. Thank you. But like I said, there's hundreds of these people. I will be naming all of this. Ed Witten at IAS, Sean Carroll at Caltech. Both Sean Carroll and Eric Weinstein have started podcasts that receive hundreds of thousands of views. There's plenty. This is when it becomes, these people are actively lying about the state of theoretical physics. They are actively withholding my research. The group of people that can really validate my research is so small. All of these people know about it, and now they're progressing their own finances in contradiction to that. I don't get to publish my paper. I don't get a PhD. I don't get a big fancy badge, and people say, "Oh yeah, let's go respect this guy's thoughts." But these people do, and they've solved nothing of value in science. That's really fun. That's what fraud is. A bunch of friends giving their friends pieces of paper and saying, "You're really smart." Who cares? Where are the merits of your work? I'll wait. $500,000 to the first person who wants to bet me that publicly. Still waiting on that. But David Eisenbud, he's the director of the Mathematical Research Institute, Mathematical Sciences Research Institute, MSRI, which one of the board members of big funding is the widely popular James Simons, another person worth multiple billions of dollars that can't pay me $6 million. And that's the actual solutions in my PhD are worth $6 million as well, in addition to the valuation of my business. And then Brian Cox, I don't know where he's associated, and David Deutsch. These are the big ones. Like I said, there's hundreds more. But like I said, as of right now today, I do not get my constitutional rights to publish my research. It has profoundly ruined my profession. It has extremely stressed every relationship I've had with friends and family ever. And it has categorically ruined the past 5 to 7 years of my life. So that'd be really cool if I could do science or be a person anytime soon. That'd be fantastic. But I will be filing these my deposition in federal district court within the next 2 weeks. So please share this. I will be sending this personally to judges. Like I said, this Eric Weinstein's video directly shows you that this is worldwide. This isn't even America. This is all of academia, and it needs to stop, and it will. So please respect the law. Please share this. Please tell people. I'm sure nobody will. I'm sure most people haven't even made it to this far in the video, but no one cares about constitutional rights. OH.